So Don't Look Up was written and directed by Adam McKay and it stars pretty much everyone working in Hollywood right now. You got Jennifer Lawrence, Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill, Kate Blanchett, Tyler Perry, Mark Rylance, Ariana Grande. A whole bunch of people are just randomly in this movie. And it's about two scientists who discover an asteroid is just coming to Earth. And it's not just any asteroid, it's a planet killing asteroid. And so they go on this tour to try to warn everyone, hey, this asteroid is coming. It's going to destroy everyone, kill everyone, destroy the planet. And big shock, no one takes it seriously. Not anyone. Not the government, not the media, hardly anyone. So this was a movie I was really looking forward to for a long time. First, Adam McKay has had this interesting direction in the last few years. He's kind of gone from making movies like Talladega Nights, Anchorman, Step Brothers, and now he's kind of moved on to these satirical comedies like The Big Short and Vice, and now he's doing one that's not based on any true events, obviously, with this. Also, the cast of this movie just sounded interesting at all those names I just mentioned. And it seemed like it was going to be an interesting take on, a lot of things. Like they say climate change, but this movie was shot during COVID, so it's like I kind of equated it to that. So, and I was really looking forward to this movie, and I saw it, and um, I don't despise this movie by any means. I don't think it's an awful movie. I just think it's a movie that it's not as strong as I think it is. It's a movie that I feel like it's not as funny as I think it is, as they think it is. And I feel not because of the subject matter, but it's more because the jokes aren't that funny. Like I think that's the main issue with this movie for me. But I'm gonna start with what I liked. What I did like, I liked most of the performances. Jennifer Lawrence, I thought she was really good. Leonardo DiCaprio was really good, kind of doing this like panicky type guy. Meryl Streep as the president, even though we know who she's supposed to be, she gives a good performance, kind of playing this villainous role, which is usually out of character for her. Jonah Hill has some funny moments. Also, a couple other actors in the movie, like Kate Blanchett, has a few good scenes, mostly with Leonardo DiCaprio. Mark Rylance, he's really good. He has this like brief speech with Leonardo DiCaprio about life and such, which is very interesting. A couple other small performances. Ron Perlman has this really awkward. It's supposed to be funny, but it's supposed to be awkward at the same time. That was kind of funny for his one scene. And Ariana Grande was actually one of the funnier people in this movie. I kind of figured, oh, she's just kind of there, and like, oh, she's actually there, and she's actually really funny. Okay, well, that's cool for her. And I liked a lot of the interesting concepts that they kind of dived into in this movie. Like, not just like the whole, you know, like obviously with the whole thing was like, okay, we have this really important thing that's really happening, and no one's going to take it seriously. And most people actually don't believe it and think, oh, it's not that big of a deal or whatever. And that's interesting in itself. Obviously, again, I mentioned filmed during COVID, so, and I guess this is supposed to be a message about climate change and global warming and all that, which the message does work. I do think the message of the movie is strong, even though it's like, some people say, oh, it's way too much, it's too heavy handed. Well, the planet being destroyed, like, I don't think you can really underscore that. Like, ugh. Anyway, and I do like some of the other concepts that they dive into, like how women are portrayed in the media. Like, Jennifer Lawrence, she basically, there's a scene where Kate Blanchett and Tyler Perry, they're all and like, they're interviewing the two of them, DiCaprio and Lawrence. And there's this scene where they're interviewing DiCaprio and they're kind of being nice and not really talking about the comment, but Jennifer Lawrence is kind of freaking out about the whole thing. And so that leads them to her freak out. It's like, we're all going to die from this asteroid. And they're like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And like they kind of talk about how the comet's actually named after Lawrence's character. It's like, okay, that's interesting how women are portrayed in like media and like how they are perceived by media as like they're seen as like really not as they're seen as not as good as men. They're seen as like they have this fake persona where it's like, okay, we're gonna say you're really good, but not really, but whatever. And I feel like in those scenes it really worked. I do like the whole concept of it. I do like the whole, the discussions about how people have no faith in scientists, how that gets twisted, and how it gets entangled up in politics and all that. It's a really interesting satire. I just wish it was funnier. Like, there are so many moments in this movie where I just feel like it just wasn't really that funny. There are a few scenes that are funny. Again, a couple of people are really funny, like Ron Perlman and Ariana Grande, of all people, are really funny. But there's also like a few scenes like, okay, what are they doing on their tour now? That's really funny. Like DiCaprio's on a Sesame Street type show, which is kind of funny. But most of the time, the jokes. I'm just going, was that supposed to be a joke? Oh, it was. I don't know if I should be laughing. Like that just wasn't that funny. And for someone who's made some funny moment movies in the past, you would think that they would make these jokes funnier and make it more biting and like more basically kind of like a nice mixture of like laughing and then really being horrified at the same time. And it just didn't work for me that way. Also, I feel like even though I didn't mind the fact that the movie was heavy handed with what it was talking about, but I just wish that there were some moments that were subtle. Like, did you really need Meryl Streep to put on a red hat? I think we kind of got the point. Meanwhile, the editing is just way too weird at times. I guess since it was released, they have fixed the editing a bit, but I haven't watched it since I watched it the day after Christmas, and I'm still thinking about this movie. So the editing was kind of off for me. Also, there are some character choices I feel like just didn't make sense. Like DiCaprio, mainly with the stuff involving Kate Blanchett, didn't really work for me. Meryl Streep and everything she does, I kind of get it, but it's just base level. It just didn't really work for me, unfortunately. So Don't Look Up. A lot of people have been criticizing this movie. A lot of people have been praising this movie. I'm not really doing either of them. I feel like there are moments where I really enjoy this movie. I love the performances. I love the ideas it comes up with. I just wish the execution was a bit better. Like it really wants to be something like the Doctor Strangelove of modern times, and yet where Doctor Strangelove is at least funny and it can be horrifying, this movie is at times horrifying, at times funny, but just there's not enough balance there, I feel like, for the movie to really be a good satire of like what's kind of going on right now. And that's a shame. It's a real shame. So I'm gonna give Don't Look Up, I'm gonna give it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. It's not an awful movie. There are things I like, but I just wish it was funnier. I just wish the tone was better. And it just wasn't. I don't mind the heavy handedness of this movie. I think that's really important. But just maybe with the characters, you should have made it a little more subtle and not too obvious. So, what do you think of Don't Look Up? Also, what is the most disappointing movie of 2021 to you? I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Now, what is the best satire, like most best satirical comedy you've seen? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.